If you could just summarize for us, this is something that I just trying to get my head around. You have talked about this vision and the challenges in broad brushstrokes. Is there one thing that you could say, or one element that you could say it's the most challenging, at least in these early stages of the campaign?
It's getting everybody on board, it's getting everybody to understand what we are campaigning for. What is talked about at the present moment is creating the refuge spaces. If you talk about creating refuge spaces, everybody understands it. Everybody can. I mean, when I go into rooms and I share that we provide refuge spaces for women that are fleeing from domestic violence, everybody buys into it. Everybody's like, "Wow, you're doing a good job." I don't get to hear a lot about this transitioning because what society views as the solution is letting that woman escape and they're in a safe place, they're in a refuge, but they don't realize what it actually does to the woman if they overstay their time in refuge. What society doesn't realize is that helping somebody up to this stage is not enough. You have to help them all the way. The biggest challenge is when we're looking at a home for every woman survivor, obviously the first route that we look at is supporting the woman to be on the local authority register, to be housed by the local authority, because all our local authorities have got the duty to house someone who's homeless. And our women, in a way, are classified as homeless because this is temporary accommodation, but they're not the same as someone who's on the street. So their priority, as much as the government has said that they have to have the highest priority, the local authorities have got also an equally or probably even more demand for these houses because there is a number of people that are homeless that need to be sheltered. So in the past, what we've experienced is that obviously a woman tries to get on the housing register with the local authority. They are told that they're number 950. They're told their number, whatever, quite a big number. And this is a frustration for them.
Yeah.
So launching our campaign now is us taking things in our own hands. We are only a small organization. We've only been operating 5 years. Was already established in the previous podcast, and we don't have these massive coffers of money. So our biggest challenge is getting the right funding, getting the right investors, talking to the right people that understand what we are on about and their buy-in and being able to come into partnership with us. So we're talking estate agents. We're going out, we're doing quite a lot of work right now, talking to estate agents, telling them of our story. It's not every one of them that will understand. It's not every one of them that will be in support of what we're doing. But not only that, when we approach the estate agents, it's always, like I say, a chicken and egg situation. The estate agent may have the buy-in,
Yeah.
but where do we get the funds? So we now need to raise our fundraising profile, what we're doing, our fundraising efforts. But asking for donations sometimes can take a long time. But it's all these challenges that we're trying to put together. It's all these things that we're trying to overcome so that we can work together. We are also trying to work in partnership with housing associations.
Yes.
We are also trying to work in partnership with private landlords. Unfortunately, private landlords obviously need quite high rent. We give them the guarantee that we will look after the payment of their rents as an organization. But we're putting every effort to try and support these women in the best way that we possibly can.
Mhm.
But Nkosi, while we're still on this topic, would you tell me, did you expect to see the campaign resonate so quickly, especially with our like and minority ethnic communities or the local authorities? Um, or was it more like a pinch me moment? I mean, from your observation, from what we have been going through, what do you think?
I think looking at how the organization has been, and looking at the passion and looking at the relentlessness of our CEO, and especially as well looking at how the staff at Contento Social Homes have bought in to the vision. It was more of me hoping that it would catch on, as they say in Nigeria, like a fire in the Hamatan. So for me, I was hoping and wishing that it would catch on very quickly. But did I expect it to move as fast? Maybe I was a bit of a doubting Thomas, not because I didn't believe it would work, but because of the stumbling blocks that we have experienced in the past, the stumbling blocks that we have, had to face. When you go to the stakeholders with what you believe is a foolproof plan, when you go to people and you have all your, T's crossed, your I's dotted and everything, and they are lukewarm towards it, because that's been, the case in some of the initiatives we've had. So sometimes it knocks your confidence back a little bit. It wasn't the confidence in the vision, but it was the confidence in the response that I was having. But I am starting to realize that, when the Igbo people say that a child that has washed his hands can eat with the elders, this is what they're talking about, because metaphorically, Contento has washed his hands and in this space because of the way that we have come across, and we've started to, really put an effort into everything that we are doing. So, yeah, it is a challenge, but I believe it is a challenge that can be conquered, because what is a challenge if not an opportunity to conquer it? And the biggest thing is, I believe, getting people, or getting the stakeholders, getting the public, and even getting the public officials, the councillors, the MPs, the prime ministers, even to be on board. Because on average, or should we say overall, they are. But I suppose it is now the nitty gritty of extending that and sort of like going beyond what they have known before. Because, like you say, most people will think you provided a space. That's okay. But actually, there's more to it than that. That is what Contento is saying. So it is important for us to notice that. So yes, I did feel that it was going to be difficult. I still realize and feel that it is difficult as things stand. It is difficult for us, but not impossible. And just like most of the things that we have done, I suppose, once you get the first one, then you move on to the next one. That's when you sometimes start to have a little bit more people believing in what you're doing, and then they're coming out to help. And with that in mind, you see, we are talking about domestic violence survivors, providing accommodation for women survivors. How does, oh, do you feel that that has got an impact on our relationship? I threw a curveball.
That is definitely indeed a curveball, but no, I think our shared passion on this, because I don't think, not that I don't think, but I know that this is something that we spoke about even on the days that we were dating. I remember those days that they used it when we used to sit, and I'll tell you the stories of when I grew up, and you stood and you demonstrated that you understood my background, and you were there to support every effort and everything that I do, as much as I do support obviously your visions and goals as well. But I think I don't think this has got any impact in any effect. In fact, it might be something that actually is good, because you're always conscious on how you treat me, because of the background, and you want to set an example for other men how to look after the women, and stuff like that. So you understand the plight of women, which is a very good thing. So yeah, I don't think that actually has got any effect, because we're working towards one go. But anyway, coming back to the issue of our campaign and a home for every woman survivor, Kosi, do you think we'll ever mainstream the model of independent housing and home ownership across the UK? What do you think needs to happen? Things like policy change, funding streams, policy awareness. What do you think needs to happen for us to mainstream this model?
Thank you, Caroline, for that question. I think it's a very, very important question. And I think it's something that we all have to work towards. So, number one, we do have what we call managing partners. These are people that we've shared the vision with, that are coming on board, and they are in different cities. Some of them are within the same city that we have, but most of them are in different cities throughout the country. And that is one arm that we're going to reach out and make an impact in different parts of the country. So if that is the case, it means that we're making inroads into those councils, we're making inroads into those cities and towns and places where normally maybe wouldn't have a model like ours. Because what we are saying is, yes, you can start off by providing a room. You can start off by providing, a decent place for someone to live. But then they are much bigger than that. So what we have been doing with the trainings the last few months is training the managing partners who have come on board, sharing the vision and showing them where we are going. So I think that's a step in that direction, because what then that means is we start then getting recognition across the board, across the country, in different parts of the country. We also have had audience with the police commissioners. We've also had audience with some MPs. And I think what we are doing at this point is planting that in all these rightful places, so that when they're in those spaces and those rooms that we are not in, they are speaking of what we do. Because I think the most important thing is, let's have all the women provided for who are in that situation. While we are talking today about doing this as Contento Social Homes, but the bigger picture is let the whole country do that, because it's not a Contento thing, it's a human and humanity thing. So therefore, as long as we have the stakeholders like the police, we have some MPs, I'm sure it will cannonball, and eventually, because it is a force to be reckoned with within itself and by itself. It is not something that you're trying to find, but it's something that we're saying it is happening in our community. No one is happy and comfortable for it to be happening in our community, and sometimes I know that we are looking at the survivors, but there's been noise about, okay, do you know what, the survivors, let's take care of the survivors, but how about the perpetrators? Sometimes we need education, we need all this, so that generally speaking, as men, as women, as everyone, because unfortunately, or should I say, because what is happening now is this domestic violence that we're talking about today doesn't only happen between men and women only. Now it does happen between women and women, although it is to maybe a lesser degree. So yes, I think we are going to do that. I think it's going to be achieved. It's difficult, but it's achievable. And maybe, you could let us know, or let the viewers and, the listeners know how they can then pitch in. How can they help? If someone is listening or watching and they're thinking, but how can I help? How can I learn? So how can they do that?
Thank you, Nkosi. Yes, it is a very big and bold vision that we have, and thank you for highlighting that it's not a Contento thing, but it's a humanity thing. So we appeal to every listener, to every viewer, to get in touch with us, to understand a little bit more. But we're looking out for your donations, we're looking out for your support, we're looking out for volunteers, we're looking out for fundraisers, we're looking out to stakeholders like the councils, we're looking out to stakeholders like the housing association to come and work with us social investors. We're looking out to estate agents. We're looking out to everybody. Everybody can be part of this movement. Everybody can make a difference one way or the other. We are opening up a shop online as well, where we are going to be selling some merchandise, in a way raising this awareness, because the merchandise is branded a home for women, every woman survivor. And we're also saying, when you buy that t-shirt, when you buy that mug, you are making a contribution to this movement. You are making a contribution to this vision. You are ensuring that you are taking one step, one woman, one step towards their independence, one step towards their stability, one step towards their self actualization, and then they begin to live their life independently. So for every viewer, for every listener, watch out to our website, watch out for our marketing material, and engage with us and support us. But before we close, Nkosi, on a lighter note, if I can ask you a very a tricky question. So what's one quirky habit I have been doing while when I'm on the campaign that always makes you laugh?
One quirky habit you've been doing. I don't know whether I should say this, but since you asked, no, I'm just joking. But there's this thing where you subconsciously, and I think it's really subconscious, you're sitting there, but you're pulling your hair, you're doing something, but I can almost see the gears in your head going. You're never actually really like resting. Even if you're sitting there watching TV, there is a chance that whatever is happening there is going to trigger something in you. And then before I realize it, you're talking about the campaign while we're watching TV, we're talking about, and then you're like, oh yeah, do you know what, that woman, this is what happened. And then it's like, it's that this thing where there's a count, sort of like, a sudden 10 at any moment. And that's the thing, at any moment, anytime is tea time. The vision is always on the tip of your tongue. But it's a good thing, for me, because it shows the passion, it shows the excitement. Even the boys at home, they know, they're like, oh, and sometimes, maybe you've not seen it, but sometimes they just exchange glances. They're like, oh, she's saying it again. I was waiting. I didn't know she was going to say, but she's done it. But yeah, it is that thing. It is a thing of, anything can trigger the next thing that is going to be added to the vision. So we can be watching something, we can be talking about something else. A phone can ring in a certain, anything, I tell you, anything can be a trigger. And I think that is the beauty about it. It can be seen as quirky, but for me, that is the beauty about it, that you will not rest until it's done.
Thank you, Nkosi. I don't know whether to add this, but I think you've already portrayed me as this woman that's never rests, but that's the terminology or the phrase that I get every time when I get into the office. The staff always say, do you ever sleep or do you ever rest? The reason being is they'll get an email from me at 3 a.m. just because I've had that trigger. They'll get an email, a text from me at 11 p.m. and say, please, I'm pretty sure our marketing officer knows anytime is tea time with our boss to be just sending ideas. Think about this. How about we do this? How about, because we're trying to reach out as far wide as possible, and we're trying to push this campaign as much as we can, so that we raise the awareness, educate people, and then that way we can get as many supporters to our vision and to our campaign. So thank you very much for that. Nkosi, I just want to say thank you for coming on board and coming onto this podcast this afternoon, for sharing those behind the scenes moments from our kitchen table, brainstorming, launching, obviously exposing me that I always think about the campaign, always talking about the campaign.
Good exposure.
So I just want to say thank you. Your role, both obviously professionally and personally, has helped shape Contento Homes, and obviously a big part of this campaign. So to our listeners, if you believe that every woman deserves a stable home, please consider donating to Contento Social Homes. Our page is Contento Social Homes /donations, or sharing our story. Just that sharing this vision, talking to somebody is enough to raise the awareness. Let's spread the news. Let's spread the news. Let it go out as a veil fire. But I want to say thank you so much for tuning in today and for listening out. And hopefully you will tune in again on our next episode, A Home for Every Woman Survivor. Thank you.